We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for a reading today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps. Those are pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen and we'll get to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that giveaway as well. Prior to beginning today's daily collective read, I'll be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. If you'd like to find those full readings, you can find them over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find them over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find them as a podcast over on my Spot and over on my Stack. But before we get started today, first and foremost, most important question, how are you doing today? Scale of 1 to 10. There are no wrong answers. We are navigating a Leo season with Saturn and Neptune in retrograde in Aries. That is feelings check to like the highest degree. Like it's a lot of emotions, okay? It's a lot of potential feelings coming up. A lot of emotionality. Why? Because you have to recognize that Neptune is where we store our emotions, okay? It's the space by which we hold feelings towards things. And those feelings energetically fortify us, okay? Saturn is how we perceive time, okay? Both of these planets are retrograding right now in Aries. What does that mean? It's nostalgic, it's sentimental, but there's something very important that we're seeing as well, because we've also got the fact that Mercury is currently in Cancer, Virgo is in Venus. All right? And all of these things are very important because we also see that Jupiter is currently in Leo. Now, you have to remember, before all of these planets went retrograde, there was a very, very important retrograde that we were navigating. That Jupiter in Cancer, okay, is no joke. It's working through the density of the perspective of the self. It's working through the emotions that sometimes make it hard for us to be able to see ourselves clearly, right? And that's the hard thing about it, right? There's the perception that we carry of ourselves, right? There's what we feel, the perception that we see inside often does not match the perception that is occurring outside the self. And when we're trying to unify those things, it can feel very, very difficult, right? There's a lot of feelings that come up. There's a lot of emotionality. But that ability to be able to articulate upon it, right, to express it, allows us to be able to embrace our authenticity and our individuality, right? It's not easy. It's painful. It's frustrating. But in the same expanse, right? It requires a lot of energetic strength. It requires a lot of bravery. But what does bravery feel like? Bravery often feels like the ability by which we're moving through our fear effectively. So I want you to keep this in mind right now, okay? Because, and I think that anything, like the one thing that you have to understand is particularly, and the best way I can describe it is like a Saturn retrograde with like a Neptune in retrograde in Aries can have a little bit of like, the best way I can describe it is like dun 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 kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like it can feel like a lot of that it's like it can feel heavy. It can feel, it's like there's an ominous quality to it, right? But when you recognize that it's an ominous quality that we're working through because Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, then you're able to just kind of sit, like move through it, right? Just kind of like allow yourself to navigate through it with a sense of bringing, right? With a sense of bringing a feeling of energetic peace to things, right? Because that's effectively what we see that occurs with Leo in Jupiter in Leo, right? Like it's not the external, right? So much as it is the inquiry of the internal and working into that in a way that feels, right, logical, energetically meaningful, things that feel like focused upon purpose and working towards that purpose in a way that feels like it's energetically profound. This is also having a different impact depending on whether you connect to masculine, feminine, or non-binary energy. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Now, if you'd like to see those full readings, I've actually posted them up over on the stack. They're available there for you to be able to observe if you want to see the cards that we saw. But there were some very interesting things that we saw in that spread. And we're going to start first, right? We're going to start first with working through that it's interesting because there was a lot of chariot energy in yesterday's read. But one of the things that was very intriguing related to the chariot energy that we saw occurring in the space of masculine has to do with that chariot in its transverse, right? And what are we navigating with a chariot in its transverse? A chariot in its transverse isn't necessarily a negative thing, right? But it depends on the context by which you're energetically observing it, because the wild thing that we saw yesterday had to do with the heart space of masculine, because heart space of masculine had a two of pentacles in its upright with a queen of pentacles on one side of it and a knight of pentacles in reversal on the other side, right? And it's working into the context of what it means when we're working through like that. That's literally like what it takes to find balance, right? What it takes to find balance is navigating through the observation of the way that we energetically feel within, right? That's that knight of pentacles versus what others observe without or externally, right? And when you understand that, then you recognize and identify the strange thing about experiencing or existing is that the way that you appear is very rarely how you feel, right? There you'll be the most brave person in the room. And what will it feel like inside? You'll be sitting there just navigating your fear every step of the way, right? There you are bringing peace to a situation. And what does it feel on the inside? You're wrestling with your anger. Okay. It's the understanding of the work that it takes. And this is what we articulate about a healthy manifestation goal, right? This is why it's like we don't say like don't base manifestation goals on what you see externally, because what it takes to maintain a manifestation goal can often feel very different from how it appears, right? This is a continuation of the work that we saw that was occurring with Jupiter in Cancer, right? That's that Jupiter in Cancer that we effectively work through, but it's not easy, right? And it's painful, and it's often the journey by which we articulate or we feel, right, misperceived, or even in the space by which we feel like sometimes that's in the way by which we often, and I like to point out, this is where we find a lot of the root, like when we identify the observation of why others sometimes articulate upon the space by which one feels like a strange correlation in terms of where one finds oneself and where one exists, right? When we're able to understand the normalcy of that experience, right? Then we recognize and understand and we move into, right? We move into the space by which we're able to identify and recognize the harmony that we find there, specifically and particularly because we arrive into the understanding of the quality and condition of the difference between perception and the emotional circumference of the self. Now, moving into feminine energy, what do we effectively see that's occurring for feminine energy here? For feminine energy, we observe that there's a lot of work that was coming through, specifically in terms of that chariot card being in its upright along with the Wheel of Fortune in its upright. And that is about working through and navigating things with a sense of energetic expediency, right? Now, the important thing that we often see is the observation or the ability to effectively move through things with a sense, right, with a sense of speed, allows one to be able to feel energetically focused upon what one is trying to effectively bring into energetic being. Now, what's important to recognize here is this is a lot of the feminine energy healing from circumstances and situations, right? Where all, like, what, when feminine energy is effectively trying to do something with a sense of effectiveness and having to have others that identify or try to articulate that feminine can't just be effective. The feminine energy also has to balance being nice in the energetic process, right? And it's interesting too because you saw that's literally that two of pentacles that we saw within the masculine space, right? The fact that feminine energy often has to work doubly hard when being effective, because not only do they have to be effective, but others aspire or insist upon the fact that they have to be nice in the process of being energetically effective, right? What we basically see that occurs in those experiences are circumstances or situations that allow, right, that allow for the observation or the unfolding, as it were, of the feminine to be able to recognize and identify the full breadth of what it is, not only what it is that they're trying to do, but the observation or the understanding of the quality and condition of being able to effectively articulate and flow into that sense of building. So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, right? Being able to articulate and being able to energetically define allows the focus in terms of being able to carry weight into things, and at the same time feeling the positive encouragement of being able to recognize and identify the healing that is potentially found in energy that is being supportive to one another. So we see that for a lot of the energy of the feminine working through that feeling of positivity and encouragement is allowing for the facilitation of healthy communication while simultaneously healing from circumstances or experiences by which that work wasn't seen as energetic blessing. Now, this brings us to the non binary energy. And for a lot of the non binary energy, what we're effectively seeing, the hard part that we're identifying there was working into the context of effectively feeling the observation of potentially having to slow things down for others, right? Things that one has effectively previously moved through, right? Moving things back into a sense of energetic slowness, right? Taking very conscientious approaches to things is what's allowing, right? And it's interesting too, because for a lot of that energy, it may feel more akin to the work that we identified in Wheel of Fortune, right? Some of that energy that we're potentially seeing that is building upon the ability to help another be able to see something with a sense of fullness. However, at the same time, while working through those energetic observations or those understandings, the quality and the condition by way and by means of being able to express and communicate their own feelings upon something, right? This is a lot of the energy that may be feeling like there's a lot of patience that is required as one is navigating situations by which one may feel, right? May feel a lot of that sense of energetic positivity towards direction, but that's being further amplified, as it were, with a sense, right, with a sense of energetic, it's like working into reticence that allows for the space of building into a deeper context and understanding. So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, it may feel difficult, right? Because it's requiring a lot of that energy, like I said, like especially in the space of the reticence. But you have to understand that the reticence that we're effectively observing in those experiences is what's helping to deepen and build an energetic connection, because specifically for a lot of the individuals going through that, having experiences where they themselves feel that others, right, didn't, and there's a lot of inner child healing that may be taking place there, right? Because when we deepen, right, when we broaden our approaches to things, right, and we're able to effectively articulate to another what our perception is, what is one effectively doing in the process? One is navigating, doing something in a way that is expansive while simultaneously healing others in the process. Now, that is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. But if you'd like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. I would also encourage you to head over to my stack to learn more about our next tarot class, which is going to be held on Friday, August 14th at 5:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the three cards of the major or the minor arcana. Now, if you'd like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we have seen and experienced prior to beginning that reading, but the materials are there for you to receive as you're ready to receive them. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions they may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you have a discount on the full year's worth of readings, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, as well as the opportunity of receiving an assessment by me where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletters there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule, and my mystic meditation articles, which will give you updates on everything we've been seeing energetically in the cards. Just wrote one recently on this full moon that we've navigated. I'll have one out shortly on the new moon we've got coming up. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute reads, again, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey at a discounted rate, as well as my dream interpretation readings, which will give you, which you can receive by dream or as a series. Now, if you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. But let me know in the comments how this energy is impacting you personally, because it is going to hit everyone just a little bit differently. That said, I am going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. And welcome to everybody joining us today. Thank you for reposting, Addie. I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. Excellent. How are you doing today, Trock? And welcome, Addison. How are you doing today, Amy? I need to point out, Tay, you make the intentional choice of coming in here. You know? Also, it's interesting that you're giving me an honorific as your insult, like as you're trying to make an insult. So I need to ask you, what are you seeking right now in being here? Right? What hurt are you carrying, or what do you see that's being projected in terms of something that hurt you? I'm going to make the choice to remove you because what you're articulating is antithetical, right? You gave me an honorific that requires or asks to be held closer, but then you immediately try to insult in the same breath, which is indicating the fact that you may be navigating a traumatized experience or a traumatized state. So I want you to ask yourself, where in your life are you doing that? Where in your life are you asking someone to be held closer by referring to them from a point of intimacy, only so that you can hurt them by what you say next? I send you so much support on your journey, and I hope that something I've given you here helps you as you continue on that healing process. Excellent. Absolutely. How you doing today, Ivana? And thank you for sharing the live, Justice. Always appreciated. How you doing today, Per? Good to see you. Excellent. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Minnie. Just bear with me a moment. Hi there, Paula. How are you doing today, dear? And thank you for those heart me's. Guys, please remember to recharge your heart me's if you'd like an animal oracle card on top of your one cards. Excellent. And I will point out to anybody joining us over on the place where we keep the videos, you can also get on the list today via my tree that has Binks in it in my bio. Now, please keep in mind, you also, as a paid member, have the same benefits that you can receive as a subscriber over on the place where we're on the clock app, which means you have a discounted rate when you send for a donation. You will also receive a free card reading each day if you become a paid member. Thank you so much. Hi there, welcome from Mexico, Delga. How are you doing today? If I'm ever saying your name incorrectly, please feel free to correct me. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Oh, Minnie, I hope everything's okay. Yeah, make sure that you're prioritizing care. I got you, Bella. How are you doing today? Yep, I've got you on the list. I will point out we will be keeping the list very short today. So if anybody would like to get on the list, I encourage you to do so sooner rather than later. Excellent. Hi there. How are you doing today, Anna? Thank you for reaching out. I'm happy to read for you on that. It might be something that might be best reserved for a private reading, though. Okay. I would also encourage you, please, like, listen, this is something I'm just telling you as a reader. Please don't put, like, I'm gonna actually go ahead and remove the information that you posted. It's very important that you make sure that you're not in the context of desiring a reading, that you're not giving personal information related to an individual. Okay. I'm just saying that to you in a way to be able to navigate, right? Like, it's not something that I personally need, but also that's just something to be conscientious about. Okay. But that said, We do personal readings here. We are going to be starting with a daily collective. And if you ever would like to have a personal reading related to that individual, you can always do that by reaching out to me privately. But I would just say that, please, in the context by which others are asking for readings for others, right? Let's make sure that we're not posting others' sensitive information in the process of asking for a reading for them. Thank you, guys. Absolutely. I'm doing well today, Lol. How are you doing today? I gotta tell you the same thing I'm gonna say before, Michael. You're making the choice to be here. And the energy that you start your day off is usually what you can expect to find at the end of it. So I need to understand that the observation of not asking you to be in here, but you making the intentional choice so that you can effectively insult a stranger. What pain are you carrying that you feel like that is something that's energetically necessary? I am going to remove you again, but I hope leaving you with that question starts to help you find the healing that you're seeking. Because obviously, you coming towards me, who does not know you, and starting from the place of insulting, is to me evidence of the pain that you're carrying. So I hope that that helps you on your healing journey. I will remove you now because I have a strict rule that says that you have to navigate compassion for those that are here, both those in the chat space and inclusive to me. But if you want the world to be kinder to you, then perhaps starting by bringing kindness to the world is going to help kind of begin to change something in your own life. And I'm sending you so much support on that journey of healing as you do so. Thank you guys for your patience. And Zoe Road, thank you for the follow. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing the live, Justice. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Ivana, good to see you today. How are you doing? Mm-hmm. So I also notice, so big hoss, I often notice individuals utilize the word salad when one is not understanding what I'm communicating. So if there's anything that you feel does not make sense, if you can just relate back to the statement I made that is escaping you, and I would be happy to be able to slow it down so that you can understand. I hope that helps. Thank you. Absolutely. How are you doing today, Nuri? I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. One moment, please. Excellent. Hi there. How you doing today, Sean? Excellent. Hi there from Scotland. How are you doing today, Mr. Straff? You have a great day, Delight. Excellent. And thank you so much for those gifts. I appreciate them. How are you doing today, Cotton Candy? Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and receiving these messages. All right, let's get to it. And thank you so much, Ivana, for those gifts. I appreciate you. How you doing today? Yep, thank you. I had to do a little bit of house cleaning over on the place where we keep the videos for those who to help with the space. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing the live, Minnie. And Gina, thank you for joining us today as well. We are going to get started on personal readings. As I mentioned, the list today is going to be kept short. So if you'd like to get on the list, please, you will be the third person read for. I'll probably only be taking maybe 3 more individuals for today's readings if you would like to secure a spot. Anyone who gets on the list now will be read for once we complete the daily collective. Veronique, I'm afraid I can't understand what you're writing there. I just want to let you know, thank you for communicating. If there's any way you can do a translation, that might be able to be helpful. The list right now, Ray, if you'd like to get on it, you will be the third person read for. Excellent. Mm-hmm. And the list we have right now is going to be Stella and Melissa. Absolutely. Excellent. And I got to tell you, this type of energy that we're currently experiencing will make it a little bit difficult to remember dreams. It's a combination of Saturn and Neptune both being in retrograde in Aries. Right? Because, and I would not be surprised if you're either having a hard time going down to sleep, but then when you're sleeping, you're like, it's like a rock, right? You're just like, you're down, you're asleep, you're in it. Grand Rising Bouquet, so good to see you, and good to see you as well, Minnie, and thank you for sharing the live. All right, we are going to start with the individuals who have priority today. So the first person we have on the list for today is going to be Stella. Stella, if you're here, can you let me know if we're doing a general email? General. I was gonna say general reading, and then I saw you post email, so I just wrote email. Hold on a moment, dear. Let me pull it up. Mm-hmm. One moment. Mm-hmm. Got you. Okay, perfect. A general email. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna need a moment. I'm gonna need a moment to read over this, but while I do so, let me give you guys a hearth warmer, something to discuss while I read over this private information. Mm. What is one way? What is one way that you're working to allow for a more positive mindset on a pervasive problem? Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I will preface this by saying that nothing I can effectively articulate about should be taken in any way, shape, or form medically. Okay, we're doing specifically an energetic read in relationality to one's own feelings and inclinations. So before we get started on the reading, though, we will warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal oracle cards here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the bee. Thank you. Can I get 4 cards, please? And 2 more. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you'll be getting an additional card. Thank you for being the first one on the list today. So the one thing I'm observing in relation to one of the things I'm seeing in relation to a lot of the work that we're identifying has to do with the observation or the understanding of what one is working to release, right? And um, you have to understand that when you are navigating circumstances by which it's interesting too, because um, our physical bodies, the best way I can describe this is our emotional bodies exist ahead of us to a certain extent, right? And when we identify the fact that our emotional and our spiritual bodies sometimes exist ahead of us, then we can sometimes feel like the emotional body will energetically instruct upon us in terms of what it is that we need to effectively anticipate. And you basically saw that occurring. And this is often something that happens to those that are very emotionally or energetically sensitive, right? It's the anticipation energy that potentially informs us in terms of what our bodies are effectively asking for. And I think you identified the fact that you articulated that you knew, right? You energetically knew that you had something highly stressful, right? You were in the space of anticipating something that was highly stressful, right? And here's the thing we talk about with trauma, right? That anticipation was you experiencing it. That was you being in the experience of it, okay? And so your work in terms of navigating that, I wouldn't be surprised if as you were moving towards that, you noticed that there was you noticed that you potentially had an appetite loss, or the feeling by which you didn't feel like you needed as much to sustain yourself, specifically and particularly because, and you have to recognize this, that the tangible body, right? The tangible body often feels, right? It often feels that it's trying to protect us, right? Energetically and emotionally, right? By by making us be able to move, like identify and move with more rapidity, right? So basically what we see that occurs there is, in a way, the things that you weren't desiring, right, prior to moving towards something stressful, was your body's way of trying to energetically protect you, right? And so what did you effectively see that occurred after that? You felt that need, right? You felt that need for things that you have felt a need for things that you wouldn't typically have an appetite for, right? Because that was your body trying to energetically restore the energetic deficit they were putting you in pressure, in preparation for a stressful circumstance or situation, right? So that observation, right? I want you to understand, in in a way that in itself is really beautiful, because what you basically understand, and this is what we talk about with the chemistry between the etheric and the stable body, right? The stable body wants to prepare us, like tries to take care of us, even as we're navigating something emotionally or spiritually, right? And that observation of working through and understanding, right? The space, right? And I just want to show you these cards to indicate, right? Like there you are, right? There you are prior to something occurring, right? And not really feeling energetically inclined for nourishment, right? And there you are after, right? There you are after a point of anxiety has passed. And where do you find yourself? You find yourself in a space by which you feel energetically ravenous because, right? And what's the space in between? It's navigating through, right? That was your body energetically preparing for a trauma, right? Like working through something. But even in the context by which it's working through something, it's the observation or the understanding of the quality and condition by which your body was trying to hold you in the best way that it was energetically able to. Bottom of the deck. Mm-hmm. This is often why, right? This is often why it's very energetically difficult, right? When we talk about, right, when we navigate the space, like, and here's the thing about it. There are those who often try to understate the quality and condition by which we feel stress, right? There are those that try to energetically, this is coming straight, like, there are those that try to diminish the quality and condition of stress, right? There are those that try to articulate that stress doesn't energetically exist. But when you recognize and identify the fact that this is evidence, right? This is evidence of the fact that the stress, like the stress within us, is its own system, right? Because the stress that we're experiencing informs upon what the body articulates that it energetically needs. So we see that this is, and I want you to understand, right? Even in the context of the fact that you notice those energetic changes, then, what do you effectively understand? We're always held, right? We're always held within ourselves because we exist within a framework that is perpetually trying to take care of us. And even in the context by which, and this is why we talk about the importance of energetic preparedness, right? Because the preparedness, and I articulate this because preparedness is the gift that we give one another in terms of being able to anticipate, right? The space by which we're able to anticipate in a healthy way is how we heal one another. And this is why, right, things that happen suddenly are damaging to our energetic systems, specifically because of the nature of the energetic, the observation of the fact that, like, that's what we identify, positive or negative. That's what trauma means, right? Like, that's what, like it's something that happens very suddenly, right? That can feel very much in the space by which we're not able to energetically anticipate it. So this is, in a way, basically what I'm seeing here. And it's interesting too because it's your angelic articulating, right? Even in the space by which your angelic is articulating upon that, they're navigating and saying that that is something that feels energetically, it's natural. It's only natural if the period by which you feel like that is prolonged afterwards, right? Because that's moving through, like that was you moving through all of the, it's you moving through all of the, it's like you moving through the full wave of navigating, right, something that was emotionally distressing or upsetting. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. You'll be the third person read for. I will point out the list is going to be very short today. Okay? It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm going to take a moment to read over the comments that came through as I was reading. Mm-hmm. How you doing today, Per? And thank you for sharing the live, Justice. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. So good to see you today, Ivana. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, are you wild? You want a recap of yesterday's? Is that what you're asking for, Per? We did a masculine, feminine, non-binary energy update. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for getting on the list, dear. Absolutely. And thank you for the follow, Zoro. Mm-hmm. And thank you for sharing the live, Per. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Make sure you're taking that time, Paula. Mm-hmm. Sending you support on that journey as well, Minnie. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing the live and thank you for reposting, Chris. Mm-hmm. You're so welcome, dear. That's wild. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't wait to unpack that with you, Per. Excellent. All right, let's get to it. Mm-hmm. How are you doing today, Jenny? Excellent. How you doing today, Kaden? Welcome from Australia, Benjamin. Absolutely. I hope I hope things improve for you, John. I do. I hope all that hurt you're carrying in your heart goes away. And I'm sending you support on that journey. Excellent. How are you doing today as well? I'm afraid I don't do pregnancy readings here, Stephen. No, the reason I don't do those is because the information that would have to be shared is too sensitive to do in a public environment. That's the choice that I make in terms of being able to protect others that I read for. So, Brige, it's if I'm saying your name incorrectly, by all means, feel free to correct me. It changes. It's different for each individual person, right? If there was a one size fits all approach to that work, it would be easy. But it's requiring the understanding of where one finds oneself and how one works to attain it. I hope that helps, dear. Absolutely. If you don't believe it's real, then why are you here? I don't understand. I don't understand. Thanks for the hearts, Chris. All right, let's continue right now. The next person we're reading for today is Melissa. Melissa, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. I don't get it. I don't get it. How are you doing, dear? Good to see you today. And while we wait for Melissa's question, we're going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. Oh, we're doing a dream. I've got the animal oracle cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the sow. That's interesting, Melissa, because you are like everybody I know right now is like we're gonna probably delve into that. I'm very curious to see what this dream holds. Okay. Bum, ba, ba. Where are we? Let's see here. Tea for everyone. Okay, I assume that means it's outside tea. Okay, perfect. And you guys know what we do before we do a dream interpretation. We're gonna warm up those intuition muscles. I mean, we're gonna. I already did the intuition check. We're gonna have the coconut. Ooh, I love that one. Oh, I'm glad to hear that they're returning. Excellent. And I'm going to pin up Melissa here. Guys, make sure to give Melissa some love. What do we got here? Okay. Oh, we already got a card out, so we'll hold on to that here, okay? Okay, where are we? On my way in the dream, all right, so here's the dream. I'm on my way to a condo in Southern California, and we stopped at a large name place where you buy furniture that I think we were in the Las Vegas area. In my dreams, I stopped there pretty often. I needed to change my youngest child, and my oldest had to utilize the facilities and, of course, walk around. The place that we stopped, was a bit different than a typical version of this store. They had a live performance for children in the back of the store. There were hundreds of families watching this performance, and it was so cute. I tried to figure out a way to avoid the crowds, and a worker showed me a shortcut on how to get there through the back. My daughter wanted to buy something, and I think I gave her my card, and I met up with her. We ended up in Southern California. The place we stayed in was a rentable condo unit. It was a very nice place. Close to the beach, very gorgeous views. There's someone always at the front desk downstairs. One of my family members decided to buy the place and was thinking about what to do with it next. As we were getting ready to leave, he was saying his thank yous to everyone, and he skipped me. I said, yo, you skipped me. But I wanted to share my recommendations on what you should do with the place. Continue to rent it, or allow the room upstairs to maybe have its own patio, make the rooms a little bigger if you can. The kitchen was gorgeous. Personalize each bedroom. Give them a feeling that they are at home. I said to him, if you need reviews, I'm always traveling and would love to stay here and give you my feedback as well. I said that the place is along the way to me heading to the Bay Area, and I looked at the map. I wasn't even close to my route, totally out of the way. I gave him recommendations on how to clean up the place as well. When it was time to leave, I said goodbyes to everyone, and an investor came in. He asked me to share my ideas with him and pulled out one of those old school sound recorders. And I told him no, I wasn't sharing my ideas with him. 2 pages read next, read next. 2 pages, please. Read next. Basically realizing they already make enough and they won't be making it off of you. That was my mindset. I left the condo making my way to the Bay Area, and I was on the phone distracted. I took a wrong turn and couldn't figure out how to get out. The place was hard to get in and out, so I remember squeezing through a small section behind a marble ball. I made it through. I was surprised because I gained so much weight in the dream space, and I was still working on losing it. And after I got through, there was a child who was lost and trying to get in. And I told them, if he can get through there, Okay, so that's where the dream ends. Can I get 4 cards, please? Mm-hmm. I can't believe, I'm very impressed by how much you typed. Okay. There's more? Okay, so we're doing, okay. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit difficult because we don't have the full dream here, but let me do my best to read into this. I'll always point out, if you ever want to take time to put the full dream up, you can do so, because it's a little bit, I gotta tell you, it's a little bit hard to read if there's more dream there. Like, I don't mind reading it so long as I have the full dream. But let's see what we got right now, okay? It's incredible. And we've got 3 cards here. All right, so we're going to start right now from the beginning of the dream and work our way through, okay? Because what we're effectively identifying in this dream space is you working through shadow work, okay? And shadow work is identifying anything that you're experiencing in the dream space, you carry trauma on. So understanding that anything that's effectively occurred here is something that you yourself have experienced, we're going to navigate it from there. And one of the things that we see is this is working on a manifestation goal. So there you are, blissfully working on a manifestation goal. And what do you see that occurs in the context of trying to move towards that manifestation goal? You arrive at a place to rest. Okay? So you arrive at a place to rest, and within it, okay, you see that there's a performance. Okay? And you identified the fact that as you were navigating that performance, you tried to figure out a way to avoid the crowds. And you identified and you spoke to someone who worked there, and they showed you a shortcut on how to get through the back, right? Now, your child wanted to purchase something, and you gave them your card and you met up with them. Okay? So, the observation of understanding the quality and condition of manifestation goals is energetically important here, because what you basically have is you have a guide showing you in the beginning of the dream the difference in manifestation goals, which is everybody else, right? Everybody else around you is watching a performance, right? Their manifestation goal is to watch a performance. So that's why there was a crowd there, because that is the identification of the manifestation goal. You have a different manifestation goal in that moment, right? You're not there. You're not there potentially for the performance. You happen to be there, and in a moment where others are building towards it, right? And in the context by which you effectively arrive towards that manifestation goal, right? What do you effectively observe? You recognize that those that are there were helping you facilitate your manifestation goal, because, right, it wasn't necessarily the context of building into that, but more something that was energetically occurring along the way, right? So your guide, and what's beautiful about this is your guide showed up to you in the dream space, right? With that energetic shortcut, right? The guide arrived with the shortcut to energetically show you, right? The way to and through that observation. So it's the understanding. So basically, what you're seeing in the dream space is a guide that's helping you understand the way that energy works, right? Which is identifying and working through that. And here's the thing about it. Sometimes others, right? Sometimes others manifestations can feel that require us to energetically move through things, right? So that's the importance of understanding, right? Where like the observation of something that you potentially identify and recognize versus where the reason that others may be there. And so you said you managed to get to where you are energetically going, right? And here's what's incredible about it. In the context of you moving towards your manifestation, you are seeing others fulfilling their manifestations along the way, right? Okay. So, what happens when you arrive? What happens when you arrive at that manifestation goal, right? You identified that there was a place there, and it was a very nice place, and that the location was absolutely beautiful, and there was an individual at the front desk downstairs. and you identify that one of your family members decided to buy the place, and you were thinking about and was thinking about what to do with it next. Now, this is really important, right? Because you are basically identifying and articulating to them that you wanted to share your recommendations on what they should do with it. And here we see you. Where do we see you identifying with those manifestations? You've got, right? You've got all of these incredible manifestations, right? You've got this beautiful vision of all of the possibilities of what could effectively transform in the space by which you recognize that another person has identified their own manifestation goal there, right? And meanwhile, okay, you said the place along the way was heading towards the Bay Area, and you looked at the map. Oh, and hold on a minute. Okay, I'm just reading over here, right? So so here you are, right, with all of your manifestation goals, right? And all of the ways that you aspire to energetically change something. Okay? And then you go downstairs to the individual who's at the desk there, right? And what did the desk person do? The desk person said hello to everyone, but who did they not say hello to? They didn't say hello to you. And why did the person at the desk not say hello to you? Because, right? Did you see what we learned in the beginning of the dream space? Right? The observation of understanding that others may have different manifestation goals, right? And the guide, right? The guide that you're seeing at the desk, right? That was the observation, right? That's their space. Okay? That's their space that you're talking about changing, right? And so it's the observation of working through, right, all of those aspirations that build into the context of the energetic conversation. So what we effectively identify as occurring there is the modality by which we energetically recognize and identify the work. And here's the thing that's important about it, right? Because you articulated into the space of the dream, right? That aspiration. Were you articulating, right? Were you articulating that? You are articulating it to your family. Were you articulating it to them as well, right? Because that observation of being able to navigate is the conscientious space by which, right? By which they themselves are also able to be able to facilitate and build with you as well. So you see, right? And this is, and you see the difference, right? This is the same guide energetically appearing to you, right? The same guide appearing to you twice in the dream space. The individual, right? The individual who was in the first part of your dream, right? What happened? You articulated to them, right? You articulated to them what your energetic need was. And in the space by which you articulated the need, right? They helped to effectively facilitate getting you to where you needed to go versus the same exact experience, right? The same exact experience. However, right? Did you articulate did you articulate to the guide the same aspiration, right? So that ability of understanding and working through, right? The energetic place by which we effectively articulate to one another is how we're able to energetically facilitate. And this is why we're potentially seeing that this is a shadow work dream. Because, and this is what's interesting about it, these are either experiences that you have been, these are experiences by which you may have necessarily been hurt by in the past, right? Because your experience of being hurt in the past may be working through experiences or situations and circumstances by which, right, when we're trying to effectively when we're trying to effectively do things, right? The conscientious point by which we're able to articulate to others what we're trying to do and the goal and the purpose of building into our manifestation goals allows, right? It allows for the possibility of energetic fluidity to occur, because that fluidity basically helps us to be able to identify and articulate upon the state or space by which we're able to have our own, right? Having our own possibilities or our own needs met. So, what we're basically identifying in this experience is you being able to build into the understanding of both mutually healing, right? Mutually healing from past experiences where others were making choices, right? Making energetic choices. However, right, making choices but not articulating to you upon the nature of those energetic choices, while simultaneously and similarly being able to articulate and identify to others the state and nature by which you yourself are working to energetically build into, right, your own sense or state of energetic care. So, this is why when you left the condo, you identified that you said you took a wrong turn and couldn't figure out where to go. And you identified that it felt like the place was difficult. And you stated that you felt like you were squeezing into a small section. And you said that you made it through surprise, because what we're effectively identifying there is those experiences wherein working through those experiences wherein we're navigating one's own sense of energetic rigidness, right? Because that marble, right, that marble that you effectively identified has to do with the quality and the condition of identifying, right, the state by which others navigate energetic change, okay? Because some energy, right, some energy builds into the context of transformation. Other energy often has manifestation goals that are articulated and identified in the aspiration and the desire for things to remain the same, right? And so that is why you identified the difference, right? Did you notate the difference between the two different manifestation goals? The quality and the condition of the first manifestation that was building into a context of fluidity, right? The fluidity of a lot of that work. The second, right, the second manifestation goal that you saw there was feeling more an energetic rigidity point, right? The ability of understanding the quality and condition by which another person is working to energetically maintain something might not necessarily be in the space by which they're looking to energetically transform it. So that's why we saw that you identified and articulated, right? You identified and articulated to that small child, right? That small child who you identified was lost and trying to do something, right? You started to identify and articulate upon the fact, right, that that is the quality and condition by which we understand. Because I'll tell you right now, in the dream state, bottom of the deck, right, that third person you saw, that third individual, that Knight of Wands, the Knight of Wands was basically the way that you were identifying and recognizing, right? This was an energetic read on the quality of the person that was the guide who was effectively in the space that you first came into, right? Because, right, in the quality and condition that you are entering their space and articulating the desire to change it, right? What were you effectively doing in the process, right? Them, right? Them feeling energetically lost because you have to take, like, it's the observation of the fact that they we're in that space, right? So this is the dream itself is a guide that's helping you, because this is potentially something that occurred to you in the past in relation to another person making choices, right? Making choices, but not taking you into energetic consideration, because the observation of being able to recognize and facilitate upon healthy manifestation goals is based upon and built upon the mutuality or the energetic conversation by way of being able to express to one another, right? The observation of helping each other in terms of knowing and identifying what we can energetically anticipate. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to receive them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. You will be the fourth person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind, there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm going to take a few minutes to read over some of the comments that came through as I was giving that read. And thank you, Khaleesi, for the follow. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wild. You did an incredible job typing that, Melissa. Me too. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, here we go again. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How you doing today, Mia? Yeah. No, it's a deep dream. It's a deep dream because and I got to point out, it's a deep dream because you have a guide. You have the same guide showing up in 3 different occasions in the dream space, right? And what is the guide showing you? Absolutely. And Lily, thank you for the follow. Excellent. All right, let's continue right now. I'm doing well today, Daniela. How are you doing? Okay. Um, So for anybody asking over on the place where we keep the videos, if you would like to get on the list, all you need to do is send the donation. I'll be happy to add you to the list. The list is going to be very short today. It's 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. And if you are joining us on the place where we keep the videos, please keep in mind as well that your benefits as a paid member are the same that we articulated for those who are in the play on the clock app, which is again a free card each day and a reduced amount donation for a reading. Absolutely. Excellent. All right, we are going to get started right now. Um, we've got, and thank you for getting on the list, Per and Sophie. I'm going to be taking potentially one more person on the list today. So if anybody else would like to secure one of those spots, you can do so, and then the list will be closed. Anyone who gets on the list after that will be read for tomorrow, and you'll have priority, which means you'll be read for before we start the daily collective. That said, before we begin, just a reminder, we've got 2 different giveaways we're doing today. The first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get, hold on a minute, we'll be doing a free reading for the highest gifter when we get to 50K likes. So make sure that you're tapping that screen, and we'll get to 50K. I mean, the first reading giveaway we're doing is a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that reading giveaway. Currently, that spot is being held by, just bear with me a moment, per. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes. So make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. Excellent. That said, before we get started, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal oracle cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the air dragon. Thank you guys for participating. We'll be doing that again after the daily collective. And if you guys can do me a favor and share this live, I would appreciate it. Make sure anyone who'd like to catch this reading live is here to receive it. That said, no better time than the present. Why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. We are going to be doing tarot astrology today. We're going to be going through all of the signs. Last time we did this, we started with Pisces, which means this week we're going to be starting first and foremost with Aries. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. What do we have coming through for you this week? Can I get 3 cards, please? 3 cards for Aries. We have the 7 of Cups in its upright, in combination with our 5 of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our Hermit card in its reversal. What are we identifying and seeing in these cards? I gotta just tell you right now, Aries, this could be feeling like a period of deep healing. And one of the things that we're also, I just gotta stress, there's a lot of work that we see that's happening right now in the house of Aries, okay? It's been it's been a year, okay? It's been like it's been a year of this. But one of the things that's really important to pay attention to right now for my Aries babies has to do with the fact that we've got Neptune and Saturn, right? Neptune and Saturn. Neptune and Saturn that are both retrograding in Aries can often talk about capacity problems. Okay. Were you too good at something? Did you get too good at something and now there's not enough space because you're so good at it? If you are an Aries who has been hurt by your own competence, you might be entitled to compensation. This is competence problems. This is an Aries navigating competence problems. There's nothing else I can say about these cards. Oh my goodness. Listen, okay, here's the thing about it. It identifies and like the thing I want to describe, and I think the important thing to recognize is and oh man, I am hesitant to say this because like I know what the answer is here, and I know that as soon as I say it, like Aries, like don't come after. It feels like it would be good to bring like I know. Listen, here's the heart. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you exactly what I'm saying right now for Aries. Okay, how are those trust wounds coming? Because that's the hard thing I'm seeing, right? I feel like for like this is the hard thing I'm seeing for a lot of Aries energy right now. And this is the thing with like Neptune in retrograde and Saturn in retrograde. So for an Aries that has trust wounds, which is being hurt before by putting their trust in others, right? And here's Aries, like working through the space of being too competent and doing something too well, right? If there's an observation that there isn't enough of the self, then it's a beautiful time to speak to others about how to energetically, like, working into the space of building into a sense of deeper trust, right? And it's hard, right? It's hard when we're going through journeys that require like the ability, and here's like, I'm going to say this for Aries, okay? Often when we are hurt, the sound of us taking the wrong lesson from something is I'll never trust again, right? Because all like that means, like, if you're going around like saying everything is I'll never trust again, that's the knife that's still in you, right? Like if you're going through a situation like I'll never trust again, then that is the knife that is the knife that slices you every day for the rest of your life, right? That's all that happens. Like when another person hurts you or betrays your trust, right? The observation and the understanding of recognizing and identifying upon that is the state and nature by which we effectively articulate and understand the quality and condition by which we're energetically helping one another through things, right? And so I feel like there's something important related to Aries right now in terms of that. Bottom of the deck, I know, I know. It's painful, right? Because the I want to put it this way. What another person does with your trust tells you everything you need to know about them. Okay? It's not foolish. All right? There's hard energy that will try to tell you that it's foolish to trust. Energy that feels like it's foolish to trust is living a half life. Okay? When you recognize that energy that says, "Oh, it's foolish to trust, you're living a half life," is because, right? That's the trauma. That's allowing the trauma to win. So allow those experiences, right? Let them inform you, but don't let them shape you. Because never are you more brave than when you're navigating and trusting in the face or in the experience by which you've been hurt by trust, right? That's how we heal. Thank you so much to my Aries. Continuing right now, the next sign that we are reading for is, we've got our, hold on a moment, we've got our, bear with me. The next sign is Taurus. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Hold on a minute. What do we have coming through? 1 minute here. 3 cards, please. Oh, yep. One's already out. Okay, 2 more, please. And 2 more. So we've got here the King of Swords in its reversal. We've got the Queen of Pentacles in its upright. And we've got the Ace of Pentacles in its upright. So what are we that's a that's a lot of that's a lot of that's a lot of energy here. In terms of working through um in terms of working through or identifying the state or nature, the state or nature by which we effectively articulate or amplify to another what we ourselves are trying to endeavor. And the thing I'm identifying particularly and especially um, with like the thing I like, there's a lot of inner child healing that I see is potentially occurring here for for Taurus energy. And the work that we effectively facilitate or navigate when we are identifying or working through circumstances or experiences that identify and articulate upon our own state and nature of feeling things. The thing you have to recognize is that there's something important that is identified and articulated in the state or nature by which we effectively care about one another, right? And I feel like what I'm seeing for a lot of those with Taurus placements right now is working through working through circumstances wherein you articulate to another what one is like, what feels like it's energetically helpful versus somebody giving you something that doesn't feel like it's helping. It doesn't feel like it's giving you what you need in order to do something effectively, right? And this is the hard part about it, right? Because there are those who care about us, and the shape by which we care about one another is often found in terms of being able to identify to another what would be preferable, right? Because that's often what happens when it comes that this is often what happens in relation to the way that we feel about love, right? Because often in the space by which those who care about us will often try to articulate the desire to put forth towards us in ways. But the best thing we can do is articulate to another what feels, right? What love feels like to us, right? Because that's often like it feels very much like, and this is the thing about it, right? Sometimes, the best way I can describe it is sometimes love gets lost in translation in the space by which another person tries to communicate something to us. And it comes from a place of love. But what they're communicating doesn't feel like love, right? It feels the opposite. So, our ability, right? And sometimes it's hard to be able to navigate whether another person is working through that effectively. So in spaces by which that's occurring, the best thing to do is have a conversation with another. And in the context by which we have a conversation with another, we are able to articulate to them what feels, right? What feels like it's helpful, what feels like it's productive, versus what another person may be trying to communicate to us, but isn't, right? Isn't carrying the shape of their intention. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we do that to help someone for ourselves. Sometimes we do that for the sake of another. So I feel like for some of the Taurus right now, this is either like, as my microphone's falling on me. This is like either trying to communicate that to another, right? Or it's being able to articulate that in the nature or in the way by which another person can understand, right? Can understand most effectively. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Yeah, especially, here's the thing, especially with the 5 of Cups in its reversal, the 5 of Cups in its reversal identifies and articulates. It works us through the observation of being able to navigate or work through the space of our feelings, right? And this is the hard thing about it, because, you know, the thing is, often there's a difference between giving others what we need versus giving others what they need, right? And so when we sometimes recognize and identify, right, the observation of being able to understand and navigate that, then it allows, right? It allows for the beauty of energetic possibility to occur. And in the space or nature by which that possibility occurs, right? Beautiful things can happen, but beautiful things happen when we have those conversations. So allow that, right? Allow that conversation to effectively fortify, right? Allow that to be the context by which one is working through things, because even in the context by which something is, by which in the context by which we are able to effectively work through things, we like that is us kind of building into, like that's us prioritizing building and maintaining a greater sense of harmony. Thank you so much for my Taurus. The next sign that we're reading into today are going to be Gemini. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. What do we have coming through for you right now? Can I get 3 cards, please? We've got the 10 of Swords in its upright. We've got the Justice card in its reversal. And we have the 6 of Wands in its reversal. So, what are we identifying or working through for Geminis right now? You know, I'm gonna put it this way, Gemini. Like, you know, when we are experiencing the breath of another's trauma, it's the observation, right? Like, I want to say, if another person is moving the target on you, right? That's not a failure on your part. That's another person that isn't being energetically considerate of you, right? Because I like to describe this, trauma is a moving target. And when I say trauma is a moving target, trauma is a moving target because, like, there you are doing everything that you need. Like, there you are doing everything that you need to potentially energetically address a situation, right? And then if another person identifies and says, right, oh, we're not doing that anymore, or we've moved away from that, it can feel, right, it can feel really frustrating, or it can feel really like difficult, specifically and particularly because it's the energetic observation of being able to recognize, right, the amplification of work that we effectively put into things, right? So I think I feel like there's something about that that's important for Geminis, right? Because I like to describe this when I see, and the one thing I'll say for those who are experiencing this right now is, um, when we are identifying and we're working through things in a way that is working into the context of investiture, like I just keep on getting this investiture, then the way that we recognize that that work is mutual is through, right, through the observation and the understanding and the quality and condition of identifying the full breadth of what it is that we do for one another. So I feel like there's like, this is feeling like a conversation, again, very similar to what I was seeing for Taurus. This is either a conversation that Gemini is having, it's either a conversation that Gemini is having in relation to experiences that they themselves, that you yourself have navigated, where um, the effective understanding of that is important, or the understanding or the quality and condition by which you're explaining that to another, right? which is like, it's saying to me, like, I feel like it's Gemini's articulating that says like, when you're pouring a lot of work into something, right? Making sure that another person, like, it's almost saying like when you're pouring work into something mutually, make sure that there's a mutual understanding as it relates to credited investiture, right? Because in bottom of the deck, yeah, like that's the difference. Like I keep on seeing this, like that's the difference of Gemini's having trauma, particularly and especially related to circumstances or situations, by which I keep on getting this. Like a lot of the Gemini energy having, like the Gemini, I know that you are energetically, like here's the thing about it, Geminis are always working into the context of honesty, right? Like a Gemini would never, right? A Gemini would never, like a Gemini would never want to take energetic credit for something that they themselves, like, you know, like here's the thing with it, like every single Gemini on this earth, like, is often very, very specific in terms of being able to recognize and identify boundaries. But the observation of understanding that, and I feel like this is what's painful for those with Gemini placements, right? There are individuals, like there are individuals who have like individuals who have no sense of standards, right? That often try to, like, it's saying to me like it's the context by which others potentially, you've been navigated or hurt before by individuals who try to like benefit off of one's own sense of generosity. So I feel like, you know, I think it's really interesting because I feel like there, and again, this is kind of the result of Saturn and Neptune in retrograde, having to effectively articulate on experiences where you yourself have potentially been hurt by someone trying to identify, right, that you are doing something with them together, but then they potentially try to identify or isolate away from the self. I just keep on seeing that conversation, right, like the ability to communicate to others is cleansing in that way, because it helps, like, help others understand that you carry trauma in being hurt before, rather than energetically being reactive to it, or allowing it to be, right, allowing it to be an empowering informational moment, right? Because often I keep on getting, it's empowering to be able to communicate to others, specifically and particularly as it relates to our feelings. Because when we communicate to others how we feel, when we communicate to others our vulnerability, right, we purify others from having to experience that, right? Like that's what we talk about in relationality, to being able to find strength in our vulnerability. So make sure that you're communicating and articulating what those needs are, right? Rather than rather than, I keep wondering, like, rather than going through experiences or circumstances where like you're navigating through another's, like you're navigating through another's feelings energetically directed at you, particularly as to why, like I keep wondering as to why you're so protective, right? So if that's occurring, allow it to be a moment that builds into a deeper sense of empathy. Thank you so much to my Geminis. Continuing right now, in our reads, the next sign that we're reading into today is going to be our Cancers. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. What do we have coming through today for my Cancers? We've got the Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. We've got the Knight of Pentacles in its upright. And we have the Ten of Wands in its upright. So I feel like what we're effectively seeing in relation to the observation or the work that we identify right now for cancers, this is what I'm going to say for my cancers right now. You you being your productive self does not hurt anyone. Okay? You being your productive self doesn't hurt anyone. And when I articulate that or I describe that, what I'm trying to communicate is the the observation, and it's interesting too because this is a continuation of what I was reading into for a lot of Cancerian energy. And this is a continuation of what we saw in last week's reading, because remember, like, there's the best Cancer that is never, like, cancers will have a tendency of never speaking up for themselves, but when cancers see another person being taken advantage of, right, or being spoken about harshly, you will see the side of the Cancer that is reserved for protecting others, right? Because you have to understand, and this is often what happens in the quality of Cancerian energy, right? That quality and the condition of energetically working through something, like, really, because this is the observation. And here's the thing about it, like, Cancerian energy will go through an experience, right, by which they themselves have been navigating or working through hurt. And the quality and the condition by which they themselves have been working through hurt often can articulate upon one's own feelings, specifically and particularly about having to navigate something. But then, right, the moment that one sees another individual going through that same energetic effort, right, that same quality and condition wherein they themselves are working through things, what we effectively identify and recognize is the observation of, right, the Cancerian energy that gets very quick to articulate and to identify to another, right, the quality and intention upon the recognition of allowing for the space by which the Cancer themselves becomes another person's carapace, right? And you'll often see this, like cancers, like cancers will often be identifying that when we care about each other, we're working into the context of energetically allowing for the space of shielding each other. And when we identify shielding, and this is the thing about it, right? Cancerian energy, it almost feels like, and I was talking about this before, right? Like, you will see a Cancer turn into a Leo so quick, right? You'll see a Cancer turn into a Leo so quick because it'll be the fact and the observation of Cancerian energy that identifies that it's our responsibility, right? It's our responsibility to be energetically protective for one another, because that observation is one that is not unified upon the self, right? That is the gift that we share with each other. So I feel like for a lot of, like for a lot of the Cancerian energy, right? Working through the observation of navigating and identifying. The best way I can describe it is healthy shielding, right? And when we're healthy shielding, right? Like, we often, like, that's the space by which you'll see a Cancer intervene because, right? Like, again, look at that. Like, look at like, there's the Cancer, like, that's Cancerian energy that effectively, like, works through something. And even in the quality and the condition, right, the quality and condition by which they do, the hard part about it is, and here's the thing that you have to understand, right, this is often the state or nature where we see that, like, Cancerian energy works through things and doesn't mind, right? Doesn't mind making a fuss, because like the observation of Cancerian energy saying like you're making a big deal out of nothing, right? Like that is often like the space by which another person articulates or tries to state that you're making a big deal out of nothing is someone actively trying to diminish something, right? When somebody says, "Oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing," I just see Cancerian energy retorting and saying, "Why are you trying to diminish it?" Right? Because that it's that observation of energetic diminishment that is something that feels informative, right? It allows for the quality and characteristic of being able to articulate and have insight upon things, specifically, right? Specifically in relation to, right, the sound of another person's standards not being maintained is often, right, is often another person trying to articulate, right? Like I keep on hearing somebody trying to articulate the harmlessness of something. And meanwhile, you got the Cancerian energy going, that's what I thought. You know what I mean? Like it's like, like there's a lot of that type of energy there, right? Um, Continuing to get clarification. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on. Next sign that we're reading for right now. The next sign we're reading for right now are Leos. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. What do we have coming through right now? Can I get 3 cards, please? Mm-hmm. We've got the Hermit card in its reversal. We've got the Seven of Cups in its upright. And we have the Five of Cups in its reversal. So what do we effectively identify there, specifically in relation to Leo energy? So I gotta identify. I feel like there's something navigating right now for Leo energy, which is it's working into the context of energetically doing one's best to navigate a lot of different energetic facets related to circumstances and situations, right? And here's the thing about it. The thing that we often identify with those that are working through, um, I want it. I want you to recognize, and this is often what happens with those who are navigating through, um, like the Leonine energy, right? And the thing about it is, it has to do with being able to effectively understand the quality and condition of everybody's emotional landscapes can sometimes feel energetically overwhelming, right? Because, and here's the thing about it, like everybody, that like, this is why you often see the nature by which a Leo gets energetically exhausted is the modality by which often those, like when Leos are able to effectively identify and recognize care, right? There's something very, there's something very, there's something very different about the way that Leo energy navigates care than the way that others effectively navigate care. Because Leos often work towards the awareness of trying to identify what another individual perceives as care, right? Like this is like this, and like, you'll literally see Leos, right, trying to explain this to others, right? And Leos will go to somebody and be like, "What are you doing?" Leos Taurus will be like, what are you doing? And they're like, I'm trying to care for them. And I'm like, and the Leos will be like, is that, is that how they perceive, do they perceive that as care? Right? Are you aware? I am aware of the fact that you're trying to care, but it's only care if another person is receiving it as care, right? It's only care if another person is receiving it as care, because there are different qualities. There are different qualities. You can't identify that something is care unless it is something that feels like it nourishes another person to receive it, right? And that's often, this is Leo's often trying to explain this to those around them, right? Somebody identifying, being like, I care, be like, yeah, I know you care, but are you aware? Like, are you aware of how that care is being received, right? Because you have to understand the shape of trauma is often indicative of the fact, and here's like the painful fact, that often trauma comes from those who care about us the most, because it is the perception, right? It's the perception and the quality and condition of being able to calibrate how another person's receptivity to it that qualifies whether the care that we feel is the way that the care is energetically received. And here's the thing about it, like, Leo energy understands this intuitively, and it often is a space, I feel like Leos are often going around to everybody trying to identify and explain this. It's trying to explain this. So I feel like, I'm going to say this to my Leos: make sure that you're putting a little compassion to yourself as well. I know that you're putting compassion everywhere. Make sure, make sure that you're leaving a little bit of compassion for the self too, right? Because, it's hard, it's hard work, right? It's hard work. And there are often, right, and I need to point this out, right? And this is often what happens with Leos, right? There'll be individuals who see, who work through circumstances or situations, and, right, like, the observation of being able to understand, right? This is why Leos this is often why Leos move slowly, right? Leos often move slowly because, right, they're trying to build into the energetic consideration of all of those that they're effectively, like, that they carry in their heart space, right? And that quality and condition of doing so can sometimes feel energetically exhaustive, specifically and particularly because, right, you'll have a Leo working through something, right? And even in the space by which a Leo is trying to do something, they're trying to find, right, they're trying to find more ways, right, to stretch something. They're trying to find more ways to be able to allow, right, to allow for that portionality of love to be energetically shared. So remember, if you're going through that, right, you deserve that too, right? You deserve that too. Thank you so much for my Leos. The next person we're reading for right now, or the next sign we're reading for right now, are our Virgos. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Can I get 3 cards, please? 3 cards. We've got the Tower card in its upright. We got the Four of Cups in its upright. And we have the King of Pentacles in its upright. So what are we seeing right now for our Virgos? Um, I feel like there's something. I feel like we're identifying something really important right now, in relationality to identifying and recognizing, um, not not building into the space of energetically overworking, but taking new approaches in relation to being able to energetically conserve one's energy. I just keep on seeing that there's something there that's important, specifically and particularly as it relates to the quality and condition of energetic of working through, right? I keep on getting a lot of focus right now on the conservation of energy, because and I gotta stress this, like, look at this, this is a tower card with a four of cups and it's upright. um, the best way I can identify or articulate what we're potentially seeing there has to do with working through. I just keep on hearing something sustainable does not require one to fire on all cylinders all the time, right? So the observation of being able to energetically work through something, right? The quality and the condition by which one is able to do that, it allows, right? It allows for new possibilities to occur. It allows for the context by which we ourselves are identifying and resolving into that work or that focus or that shape. And I think that there's something important about that, specifically as it relates, right? Like particularly with this King of Pentacles, right? Because the King of Pentacles in its reversal is often identifying or working through the quality and condition of others coming towards us. And the thing about it is, when we care about one another, we care about one another consistently. And what do I mean by caring about one another consistently? Caring about one another consistently identifies and articulates that the quality and condition by which we effectively recognize everything that another individual is navigating or dealing with, right? When we are able to effectively energetically feel seen, right? And you'll see this often happening with Virgos, right? Virgos appreciate being cared for by being fully seen. And when a Virgo is being fully seen, then it's the observation of, right, the Virgo energy that is working through the quality and the condition of being able to recognize and identify, right, what they themselves are working to heal, right? The facilitation point of their own energetic experience, right? But also in the space by which another individual is not misperceiving them, right? So your ability, Virgo, to work through the observation of being able to work fastidiously towards something, and simultaneously, while working fastidiously towards something, right? The quality and the condition by which another person energetically appreciates what that takes in order to do so. So we often, and you'll, like, I like to point this out, like Virgos have a hard time sometimes articulating upon their own need to ask for things, specifically because of trauma related to others moving away from them in the space by which they identify or articulate a vulnerability. But this is what I keep on getting for the Virgo energy, bottom of the deck, right? Your vulnerability is beautiful, right? Vulnerability is beautiful because, right, when we are energetically vulnerable, right? What another person what another person does with our vulnerability tells us everything we need to know about the shape and nature of that individual, right? So when we build into the context of vulnerability, right? When we effectively identify and articulate upon that vulnerability, and then we effectively express and communicate upon it, right? It allows the context or the opportunity by which we are able to energetically arrive into things, right? And that conversation, right? That the expansiveness of being able to energetically communicate on our feelings, right? That is usually that's usually where all of the work begins, right? Because we can't work on feelings unless we're communicating upon them. So I feel like it's interesting because, like, even as I'm trying to read for Virgo right now, I'm going through like a lot of clearing because, you know, sometimes when Virgos are going through that, there's that desire, there's the over internalization of the work that creates the space by which we, you know, just it's like we try to take on more than we need to, right? Because we over, like, one's own ability to overly work through something, it's a gift, but also, right, one's ability to effectively articulate upon how one is feeling creates the space by which it allows for the expansiveness, because, right, in the expression of it, right, others, others have the possibility of being able to energetically meet us or find us where we are. So when you think about the identification, right? When you think about the identification of communicating your feelings, almost as helping another person identify your own coordinates, right? Then we understand that the quality and condition by which we're communicating our feelings is helping each other find one another, right? Because those are our coordinates, right? That's where they can find you. That's where they can understand you. So see if thinking about that changes something that you're energetically working through to be able to help communicate something in a way that you're like to navigate some kind of energetic hurdle that you may be navigating right now. Thank you so much to my Virgos. The next sign that we're reading for right now is going to be, let's see here. Our Libras, Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. 3 cards, please. And one more. All right, we've got here the Knight of Cups in its upright. We've got here the Hanged Man in its reversal. And we've got the Knight of Pentacles in its upright. So let's work through, let's identify and observe what we're energetically seeing here, because there's a lot of night. This is such a Libra reading. Oh my goodness, look at this. I just want to show you guys, we need to take a moment. Can we take a moment and I admire these cards? Look at this. Look at these cards. Like, this is such a Libra reading. You know, here's the thing about, like, wow, I like that. Perfect. I don't even know how to read them. I'm like, Libra, your reading is Libra. Like, your reading is Libra. But let me walk you through it, okay? Like, let me walk you through. Um, the 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 thing that you have to understand, okay, the thing you have to understand about Libras is, and you'll always recognize this when it comes to Libra energy, all right? Um, the quality and condition of navigating through circumstances and situations, you cannot You cannot make a determination on how another person is navigating something unless you yourself know what they are energetically going through, right? You have to understand like the quality and condition by which those that effectively articulate upon things, right? Like that's exactly like that's basically what these cards say, right? The sound the sound of entitlement, right? The sound of entitlement is an individual going, I've never been through that, right? Like that's what I mean. Like I've never been through that, right? And you will sit there, right? You'll have to sit there with somebody who will sit there and they'll extol upon their entitled environment, right? And they will extol upon their entitled environment and articulate the fact that it makes them, right, energetically special, right? And they're the Libra would be just like just right? It's like you can't make it up, right? Because like that's the wildest thing about watching entitlement in action, right? Entitlement in action is literally watching somebody going like, "Oh, I just, I've never experienced about that. I've never experienced it, so it must not be real." Right? Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what that's why we call it entitlement. Okay, that's why we call it. You start having already if you've never had experience, like you're so close, you are so close, you're so close, you're so close. And it can be maddening. It can be maddening when you're talking to someone like that because they're so close. They're so close, right? They're so close to it, right? It's the quality and condition that when you articulate upon the fact that you've never experienced something, you're in it. Okay, you're like you are like that's understanding and recognizing the quality and condition by which how you're experiencing it. And when you are aware, then you are aware of your entitlement. Okay, like that is what we identify as the entitlement awareness. And when you have to understand that we all, everybody, everything, everything in this world has some entitlement to something, right? And understanding the nature of our relationship to our entitlements, right? That is literally the force of good moving through this earth. Okay, like it doesn't require one, right? It's literally that is called entitlement responsibility, right? There it is. It's not, and that's the thing about it, right? You don't need to try to move away, like and this is often what's wild about it, like those who effectively try to move away from things like work through the energetic silliness of it, right? You can't move away from one's entitlement. You try to move away from one's entitlement, you're trying to abandon yourself, right? When you're trying to overly embrace your entitlement, then you're too much in it. So the ability of having a responsible relationship with one's entitlement is basically the quality and condition, right? And like the quality and condition by which one is able to effectively identify and recognize, right? It's environmental, right? It's environmental awareness, right? It's environmental awareness. And when we're able to effectively identify this, then we become each other's mutual blessing, right? Because it's not something, right? It's not something that moves you deeper into one's own feelings, right? It's the quality and condition, right? It's the quality and condition by which we are energetically, right? We're energetically, we understand, and this is often what happens with those with Libra placements, right? Understanding another person's vulnerability, right? You'll have the best Libra being like, well, like why aren't you talking to that person? and being like, well, because they're not ready to have a vulnerable conversation, right? And it hurts, right? Because often the quality and condition by which a Libra might often have to navigate a situation by which they're perfectly aware, right? Perfectly aware of the environment around a situation, but the ability by which one is able to identify and recognize, because this is Libras also recognizing that when we care about each other, right, we don't try to bring healing to places where another person does not desire to heal. It's the observation or the understanding that we effectively work through, right? Love is also giving space to things, right? That's what we effective, like that's what, like this is what, like, and here's the thing about it, like sometimes, like, this is hard because often, right, often this is like Libra energy having to navigate, right, having to navigate circumstances or situations, right, of being energetically fully aware of what another individual is energetically demanding of them, but being able to place energetic compassion towards it. Because, right, when we care about things, right, we don't, when we care about things, we don't silently demand upon them, we energetically ask, right? We work through the mutual ability of energetically communicating. Because when we energetically communicate, when we see the beauty of being able to energetically communicate upon things, then that is the space by which we begin to heal. Oh, so I feel like that's, I think that, like, again, this feels, again, for a lot of Libras going through that, make sure that you're like, it's like, it's hard because I can almost see you trying to identify or articulate to another, while at the same time, like, working through the energetic frustrations of like another individual's, um like, it's just, it's saying to me, like, and I want to point out particularly with this 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, you know, the quality and nature of working through circumstances or situations by which one is able to effectively identify what feels practical is being able to have a conversation with another and saying, what would you prefer, right? Let that fortify, like, what would you prefer is like the curative to every confusing conversation. Because if another person is articulating something but they're not communicating upon what they would prefer, then you've effectively, like, navigated the source of another person's illogical communication or illogical reasoning. Thank you so much to my Libras. Next sign we're reading for right now is, just bear with me a moment. The next sign we're reading for today are our, hold on a moment. The next sign we're reading for today are our Scorpios. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. What do we have coming through today? 3 cards for my Scorpios. We've got the 3 of Cups in its upright. We've got the Ace of Wands in its reversal. And we've got the King of Pentacles in its upright. These are beautiful cards right now. Absolutely beautiful cards right now for Scorpio. And the best thing I want to describe, you know, the thing I keep on seeing right now, and particularly for Scorpio energy, is I think this has a little bit to do. I got to describe this. I feel like I feel like the, like, Saturn and Neptune in retrograde, um Saturn and Neptune in retrograde in Aries for Scorpio, it, it's not going to affect scorpionic energy the way that it affects others, right? Because you have to understand, like, Scorpio energy is often working through the ability to recognize and navigate. um it's working into the context of recognizing and navigating or understanding the quality and condition of trying to build into um, mutual energetic harmony upon things, right? And here's the thing about it, like Scorpio, you understand this. In order to find, right, in order to find harmony, one must be able to navigate disharmony, right? Because the quality and condition, right? And I just want to point this out, right? Harmony is not harmony if harmony is exclusive of another person's harmony, right? Harmony is not harmony if it is exclusive of another person's harmony. And scorpionic energy sees this all the time, right? Energy that tries to like pat themselves on the head and being like, look how harmonious we are, right? And another person looks out and goes, who's that? Oh, they can't come in here. They're not harmonious enough, right? Like, be like, what? Like literally, the audacity, right? There you'll see somebody like patting themselves on the head for being harmonious, right? And then being like, what's that? And being like, oh no, yeah, that wasn't harmonious, so we just left it. What? You did what? Like it's that type of energy, right? It's not harmonious. Something is not harmonious if it's exclusive, right? There's nothing harmonious about exclusivity. But you'll often see, right? You'll often see someone being harmonious and exclusive, and then in the next breath they go, well, it was going to be yeah, I know it's going to be very complicated. It's complicated to make things harmonious, right? So it's complicated. If you want harmony, prepare for complication, right? Which is the observation and the understanding of effectively working through things. And in the context by which one is working through things, right? That working into the context of being able to articulate and identify, right? How difficult, right? How difficult that is, right? That's what allows one to be able to find a deeper sense of energetic unity, right? And so I feel like what often, like, and here's the thing about it, this is often why scorpionic energy will look at situations, right? They'll look at situations by which others are having to navigate things, right? And they'll understand and recognize the shape and nature of the things that we energetically go through, right? Particularly and especially, I like to point this out, like scorpionic energy will often see, right, the work that others have to navigate in relation to trying to find harmony. It's exhaustive, right? Because it's working into the space of having to navigate circumstances or situations by which you have to make another individual, right? It's like having to make another individual aware of one's own, it's the journey of helping another person become energetically aware of their own blind spot, right? And the hard thing about that is I feel like for a lot of the scorpionic energy, right, like the thing that we often see here is, and I'm going to give you bottom of the deck, um, it's hard because like, and I can see that, like, the thing about it is like you can't navigate something if you have an anxiety about energetically facing it, right? And this is the hard thing that often I feel like this often happens with those like I like to point out, like, often those with Scorpio placements, I know that you effectively recognize that scorpionic energy recognizes the depth of a conversation that one can have with another, and the depth of a conversation that one can have with another has to do with the quality and condition by which another person is navigating their own depths, right? This is often why scorpionic energy, like you'll ask a Scorpio something and they'll be like, I'm good, right? One person they'll say, I'm good. Another person will be like, how are you? Be like, because, right? Because scorpionic energy is looking for depth defying relationships, right? Scorpionic energy is looking for relationships that identify and articulate and recognize the depth upon which one can go, because it's the understanding and the quality and condition of working through something, right? But even in the quality and condition by which one is working through it, right? It's the quality, it's the ability by which we're able to articulate and identify, right? That not, and here's the thing about it, sometimes scorpionic energy doesn't want to communicate something because they don't want to add added weight to something when they see another person that's already working through a lot of heaviness, right? And this is often, I want to point this out, this often happens in the shape of scorpionic energy, having the space back. Somebody says, why didn't you say something? And Scorpios are like, I didn't want to put it on you, because it's not the fact by which the Scorpio isn't trying to articulate upon it, it's the space by which, right? It's the space by which they are effectively like navigating the observation of being able to find energy, right? Mutual energy that recognizes or understands the quality and the condition of things that are energetically heavy, right? So there's a lot of that work that we see going through there. And I feel like even, I feel like if that's happening, Scorpios, like make sure that you're explaining to, like, it can be sometimes hard for Scorpios to explain that, but this is like the arrival point in helping another person understand why sometimes, right, you don't necessarily articulate something fully, because, right, it's the quality and condition by which you're trying, right, you're trying to navigate and understand what that effectively means, or how another person is simultaneously experiencing it. Continuing to get clarification, the next sign that we're reading for today are our Sagittarians. Sagittarian sun, moon, and rising. What do we got coming through right now? We've got here the Seven of Swords in its reversal, the Eight of Cups in its upright, and the Hierophant in its reversal. So I feel like there's something very important that we're observing for our Sagittarians right now. As it's like, it's interesting. Like, I feel like everybody else is like working through a lot of emotions, but there feels like for Sagittarians right now, this almost feels like a very liminal space, you know? And I'm wondering why. I feel like some of that liminality, oh, I know why. Hold on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. So, some of the energy that we're potentially seeing right now that's occurring, particularly for Sagittarian energy, is you have to understand, and this is the best way I can describe it. Jupiter in Cancer for Sagittarians may have felt um, incredibly heavy. Is the best way I can articulate it, and the reason is because um, that's it's working through. It's like I want to describe this for Sagittarian energy. Jupiter in Cancer may have felt like there was a lot of soul searching that was energetically happening there, right? The observation or the quality and condition by way or by means that we effectively identify and articulate upon things allows one to be able to recognize and identify the shape and nature of the weight that we are energetically carrying. So I feel like there's something about that that's really important, because specifically with a lot of that work that we see, I feel like it's the expression or the understanding of the quality and condition of being able to identify or work through things, but in a way that allows one to be able to see new possibilities, right? And so I think it's interesting because I feel like this almost feels like a very creative time for you Sagittarians, like something that you are effectively identifying or working through, but in the quality and condition by which you are effectively trying to identify or work through um, new possibilities, new opportunities, new energetic experiences, and even with I want to give you a little bit of the bottom of the deck here because yeah, the Ace of Wands in its reversal. The one thing I like to point out when we see an Ace of Wands in its reversal is an Ace of Wands in its reversal identifies and articulates upon the observation of being able to, and here's the thing about it, one can't be creative, like, one needs space to be creative, right? Like, one needs space to be able to be energetically creative because it's often the quality and condition by which one is able to effectively navigate liminality that allows for the ability for creativity to effectively come towards us. So I feel like for a lot of the Sagittarian energy, there's something we're identifying that articulates upon the arrival of creating, right? Like having some time for the self, but allowing for new creative ideas to energetically emerge or percolate. Because everything I keep on seeing right now is while there might not necessarily be a moment of profound activation, right? there's a lot of there's a lot of there's a lot of emotional or spiritual connection that's potentially being made there, specifically and particularly as it relates to the formation, right? The formation of ideas or possibilities or coming into something in a way that one hasn't perceived or conceived before. So it feels very much like a quiet and contemplative time, but a lot of activation emotionally and creatively, particularly as it relates to the shape or the formation of new thoughts, or ideas or concepts. And the thing about, and I want to point this out too, right? Like there might be some energy, right? And this is something by which, like, I feel like this is something by which, like Sagittarians may be carrying trauma around because, like, this is often why, there's something you have to recognize about, um, like movement and the way that the mind works when it comes to Sagittarian energy, right? Like this is why you'll often see Sagittarians have a really hard time finding a meditative state because like like you can't say to a Sagittarian like sit still to connect because Sagittarians are like what? Because like there's often that ability of working through or finding ways to energetically connect into something that allows like the ability of like moving through something that helps a thought connect is the best way I can describe it, right? Thank you so much, my Sagittarians. The next sign that we're reading for today, hold on, is going to be our the next time we're reading into right now are our Aquarian, oh, Capricorns. What am I doing? Capricorns. Yes, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. But it's interesting because it's very Aquarian in Capricorn right now. That's what I'm seeing there. All right, can I get 3 cards for my Capricorns? Yes, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. One more, please. Yeah, it's like super Aquarian right now in Capricorn. We're gonna, but I have to, you have to recognize the reason we're seeing that. All right, we got to work through this again, okay? Because I got to tell you that I feel like the hardest thing that we're seeing that's happening right now for Capricorn energy, all right, this whole year has been navigating the fact that Pluto moved out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, right? And what is how you doing with that? How you doing with that? My Capricorns, how are we doing with that? Okay, we just need to have a little bit of a check-in. Okay, a little check. How are we doing? How are we doing with it? Okay? Because the thing you have to recognize, okay, is Pluto in Capricorn. The reason that we see Pluto in Capricorn moving into Pluto in Aquarius, and that it's going to have more of an impact on those with Capricorn placements, right? Because what you effectively identify, or we see that as occurring there, is, the thing you have to recognize is um, Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn identifies working through situations that feel like they are like it's like the best thing I can describe is that like Capricorn's like you love like the ability to like I'm gonna kind of like the mark something off, right? To be like, okay, I've taken care of that. I've taken care of that. I've taken care of that, right? Like there's nothing more satisfying than to be able to effectively navigate something in a way by which you can point to it, say like it's navigated, and then you can move on to something, right? The thing that we often see with like Pluto in Aquarius, right? And this is the thing that's hard with Pluto in Aquarius is being able to navigate and recognize the quality and condition of having to work through it is working through the unprecedented, right? And the thing about it is when you're working through the unprecedented, right? It can sometimes, when you're working through the unprecedented, it can often identify and articulate upon the quality and nature of working through the observation of, right, the breadth or the understanding of an individual's space by which we like it's hard to be able to energetically anticipate, right? It can be very frustrating. And I feel like what's happening for a lot of those with Capricorn placements is trying to effectively work through, right? Working through um and I want to describe this, okay? If you're experiencing this as a Capricorn, this is the sound of expertise being formed, right? Because when I say like this is the sound of expertise being formed, how does that change your own experience to something that you're working through that you haven't worked through before, right? Because, that observation of effectively navigating circumstances or situations that is hard to energetically be predictive upon. Um, the best way I can describe it is um, that's allowing like it's helping it's the ability to effectively allow oneself to um, trust in your like it's feeling able to trust in your own, right, trusting in your own energetic intuition on things, but not just the fact of working through the quality of one's intuition, but also working into the quality of our confidence, right? So I feel like, I think that there's something there that feels really energetically important for those that are working through Capricorn placements, because when we understand and recognize this, right? Like we understand and recognize and we work into, like when we work into our confidence and when we work into our intuition, the thing you have to recognize is everything that comes towards it fortifies it, right? Everything that comes towards our confidence and our intuition, right, is something that strengthens. And the reason we recognize that it strengthens is the ability or the capacity by which we are able to identify something and recognize if it's interesting, right? So that quality by which we identify and articulate upon something that's energetically interesting allows for the ability to be able to expand and expound upon it more. So that is often coming into the framework of understanding, right? Bottom of the deck, being able to perceive everything as a beautiful conversation, right? And I feel like I feel like that is the, like, I feel like those are the words to help as we navigate a lot of this energy, which is saying a beautiful, what is a beautiful conversation? A beautiful conversation allows new things to emerge in the possibility of having it, right? Beautiful conversations are arrival points, but often, right, the observation of moving into a beautiful conversation is when we're learning something in a conversation that we did not know before, and we are able to experience or to articulate our own energetic interest in receiving it, right? Because it's that point of interest that we accommodate for as it relates to our own observation that allows for expansion. So I feel that there's something that we see there that's very important. And the importance that's being identified has to do with being able to have recognizing that you're a beautiful conversationalist, right? Like when you recognize like the beauty, right? The beauty of your conversation is the ability to be understand and recognize that 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 in a way is what effectively allows for something to effectively expand and expound upon more, because there's a lot of possibilities to explore. So I think that there's something very, I feel like there's something important about that, but it's not just the fact of working through import, but being able to identify the state or nature by which you yourself are also observing new possibilities and pathwork to be able to learn even more, right? Like there's a lot of that expansiveness there that is allowing for um, new possibilities, but at the same time, right, not being hard on oneself in the quality and condition by which you don't be upset if there are things that you could not perceive before, because the quality and condition by which you're effectively understanding or working through something is identifying and appreciating how far you've come on your own journey of understanding the self. Thank you so much for having, thank you so much, my Capricorns. The next sign that we're reading for are our Aquariuses. Woo! Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. We've already got that transverse hangman out. Can I get 3 cards? We've got a hangman in its transverse. We've also got a 7 of Cups in its upright, as well as the Hermit card in its reversal. So what do we see that's occurring right now for our Aquarians? What we're identifying here, I feel like there are circumstances or situations that I feel are requiring navigating through an observation of identifying what one is being patient upon. And something that I'm energetically seeing there specifically has to do with working into the context of, I feel like this is trying to find some point of energetic stability, or working through some stabilization point in terms of trying to find energetic um, peace around things, like particularly and especially with that hangman in its transverse. And one of the things that we identify with a hangman in its transverse is working into, it's taking approaches in relation to what we ourselves are working upon as it relates to building into the context of unified expansion. And I feel like there's something, I think that one of the things that we're seeing right now for a lot of those with Aquarian placements, and this is a continuation of what we were basically identifying that was occurring with like Pluto also moving into Aquarius, is um, the quality and condition by which we effectively identify or work through things is being able, like when I feel like this is what I see a lot of Aquarians doing, right? A lot of Aquarians being able to articulate to another that you can't make a harsh judgment upon something unless you have a full understanding of it, right? Because what happens in the context of making a harsh judgment, there are those that make harsh judgments, right? And when another person makes a harsh judgment without fully understanding the context or nuance of something, right? What we basically identify and recognize is working into the quality and condition of another individual, right? When we make a harsh judgment without fully understanding something, never are we more serving our shadow, right? Because it feels good, right? It feels good to feel like there are those that do not want to confront the work within. And it feels good to try to externalize inner work by trying to identify something or someone that one is energetically up against, right? And the quality and condition by which one effectively, and this is what I feel like a lot of Aquarians understand intuitively, the quality and condition by which you immediately try to build into polarization is often a quality and condition of oneself not being in a balanced state, right? Because pay attention to those who are not in balance, perpetually trying to polarize, right? Pay attention to energy that's not in balance, perpetually trying to polarize, right? Because that's the balance, right? That's the balance that they refuse to find within, that they're perpetually trying to project without. So we see that for a lot of the energy, I feel like that is coming into this space of advocating, right? Energetically advocating in the arrival point of those that often articulate the quality and nature by which we identify and recognize what energetically needs defending, because when we do so, we're able to effectively qualitatively articulate to another what we feel. Bottom of the deck on this reading, yeah, we've got here the Seven of Pentacles in its reversal. There's a lot of work that we're potentially identifying there as it relates to working through circumstances or situations by which the quality and condition we are effectively identifying feels like it's frustrating. But in the frustration, right, and I feel like there's something important there, right? There's no rushing through something that's energetically important, right? And you'll often see an Aquarian that identifies and articulates that when we're trying to rush through things, right, that is how, right, that is the utilizing the possibility of being able to understand that when we're building into expedience, we have expedience on things that have expedience points, right? But the quality and condition where another person doesn't want to talk about something and they try to add expediency to it simply because they're not comfortable speaking upon it is often very energetically revealing. So I feel like this is almost the energy of the Aquarian. Like this is Aquarian saying, like, if you're moving, like if you're identifying the fact that you need to do something quickly, right? You have to have a valuable reason as to indicating why, right? making sure that you're not energetically avoiding something in the identification point of identifying that you don't have enough time for it. Continuing, for final sign for our reads for today are our Pisces. 3 cards for our Pisces. We've got here the Six of Cups in its upright, the Chariot card in its upright, and the Sun card in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing right now for our Pisces? This is working through the quality and condition of being able to rationalize and explain something that we have meaning towards, right? This is basically Pisces having to explain to somebody that having feelings does not qualify the value of the feeling, right? And why do we need to effectively articulate upon that? Because, right, there are those that have feelings about things, right? And the quality that by which someone is feeling something is completely valid, right? There can be a reality that exists where an individual can have a lot of feelings about something, right? And those feelings are real, but the quality as to whether they have a right to feel that way is still questionable, right? like that's the difference, right? Your feelings do not need to be honored. And the only way that your feelings are honored is if there's a good reason that you feel that way, right? We're supposed to have feelings. Our job is not to honor everybody's feelings, because if another person isn't doing the work to recognize if their feeling is reasonable, right? What happens? You got one unreasonable feeling that spoils and everything, right? One unreasonable feeling spoils everything, because the quality and condition by which one articulates that one's feelings have merit and are important are calibrated with how much one has done the internal work to decide if it is reasonable that one feels that way, right? Because what happens in the context by which, like, that's often what happens, right? You can't have nice things. And the reason we say you can't have nice things is because if you have nice things and one unreasonable feeling shows up, right? Then all the nice energy trying to navigate the unreasonable feeling then allows for nothing to be nice anymore, right? Like, that's all that happens. Like, it's not the same, okay? And that's why we say, like, when others come in, they go, you have to honor my feelings. No, you don't. I have to recognize that you have them, right? I can respect the fact that you have feelings, but whether I honor them or not has to do with how reasonable it is for you to be feeling that way. And so that's what I feel like a lot of the Pisceans are doing right now. Pisces, I got to point out, Pisces, I know you hate having to do this. This is like the last thing that Pisces like to be doing with their time, man. Pisces are like, really, really, really? This is just like, I know. Pisces are like, if everybody just did this work, if everybody just did this work in navigating the reasonability of their feelings, it would be a lot easier for everybody. But again, we have to articulate upon this, because, right, there are those who are just deeply invested in not wanting to do self-work, right? It's like the deep investiture of some. And here's the thing about it: the sound of another person deeply invested in not wanting to do self work is literally equated to them giving their feelings to everybody else to resolve. Right? Like, you can. It's a ratio. It is a ratio. The quality and condition of another person not invested in their self work is mutually aligned, right? Just equal to, right, the investiture of time that everybody else has to navigate in dealing with it, right? Dealing with it. And this is why we articulate and understand that our time is energetically precious, because the quality, it doesn't identify the fact that feelings are important. Feelings are rational and reasonable when they have, right? A feeling is a present when there's a gift attached to it, right? A feeling is a present when there's a gift attached to it, which says, I have these feelings, and guess what? I've done the work. This is what we're going to do to fix it, right? Oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful present that's ever been delivered. Okay? It's like the most beautiful present, the emotional intelligence that arrives, that goes, I have sat with my feelings, this is the solution to them, and I'm presenting to you the full package of my emotions, right? And it literally is the hardest thing on the planet to do, and nobody wants to do it. And when we care about each other, this is what we do for one another, right? This is the gift that we give each other. And I feel like for a lot of the Piscean energy, right, identifying and recognizing this, particularly and especially with that Three of Pentacles in its reversal, right? It identifies and recognizes and articulates upon what it is that we need to put work towards, but it also unifies upon taking healthy approaches to things. So I feel like that is the work by which, right? Like it's identifying for a lot of Piscean energy, being able to do so, but also being very conscientious and articulating upon what is necessary and important in order to facilitate something correctly. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the two cards. Our next class will be happening on August 14th at 5:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the three cards of the minor arcana. If you would like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, as well as the opportunity of a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary assessment by me where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best impact moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in those classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule and my mystic meditation articles, which give you updates on everything we've been seeing in the cards based on the lunation cycles. I've just posted recently on the full moon that we experienced. We'll have one out shortly on the new moon we've got coming up. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute reads, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey at a discounted rate, as well as my dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow. That is our daily collective read. We are going to get started on personal readings. I do want to articulate that the list is closed. I do want to make sure that we're prioritizing subscriber reads today. So we will be moving into one card shortly. But for anyone who is on the list, I would like to ask if it is okay if I move you to the list for tomorrow. You will have priority. And when you have priority, which means you'll be read for before we start the daily collective, if you are not comfortable with that, I'm happy to recompensate you. Just let me know. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Absolutely. I'm doing well. Gigi, the list is currently closed. We're taking individuals on the list for tomorrow. Thank you, dear. Ella, the list is closed today, but I'm happy to add you back tomorrow if you'd like to get on that list. Was it freezing for anybody else? Okay. Hi there. How you doing today, Bridget? Excellent. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, right in time for Libra, Yaz. Excellent. Perfect. Wonderful. No problem. Hi there. How you doing, Cam? It's been a minute. How you been? We did all of the signs. Absolutely. How you doing today, Cassidy? Excellent. You're so welcome, Ella. And thank you so much, Assad, for the follow. The list is closed today, Stella, but if you want to get on the list for tomorrow, I'm happy to read for you on that. Hi there. That's okay. So Sophie, you have nothing to apologize for. I'll be resending that to you after this occurs. I'm also happy to give you. We have two different choices, Sophie. You let me know what you'd like to do. I can put you on the hold list, which means you'll be on the list anytime you come back for a reading next time you're available, or I can recompensate you. Either way, you'll be getting a free one card today. So you can also ask for one card. Thank you so much for your patience on that. The list is closed today, Julia. We're moving straight into subscribers. I'm afraid we were running on short time, and the collective reading went a little bit longer than expected. So anybody who's on the list today will be prioritized tomorrow. And for that, and with that said, we are going to be moving directly into one card. So if you are a super fan or a paid member and would like a one card reading, go ahead and put your question in the comments. I'll be happy to draw a card for you. Sophie, you'll also be entitled to a one card today as a thank you for your patience. I appreciate that, Per. Thank you for your understanding. One card for Nikki. Hold on a minute. Hi there, Carrie. How you doing today? Highest priority for Nikki, please. We've got the High Priestess in its reversal. So this is identifying and working through situations or circumstances. Make sure that you're telling individuals how you're feeling right now. Your words are beautiful. Your truth cleanses. Animal Oracle with the Blackbird, right? The ability to identify and recognize how, right, the truth that helps is helping another person find their truth as well, right? So every time you articulate from a place of authenticity, you're giving another person permission to do so as well. Absolutely. Excellent. Ella, one card highest, please, for Ella. Ella, I feel like there's something that I see that's happening as it relates to ancestral energy. Identifying, like, if someone's not making sense, don't become invested in trying to understand why. Bottom of the deck, let the confusion be the closure, right? Miserable energy likes to confound to get attention, right? But when we're in a place of authenticity and honesty, we just communicate from a place of our own emotional intelligence. So if you're doing that, you energetically deserve it too. That's you, like that's you setting the energetic standard. Minnie, one card on their perspective on that disharmony. You got two cards coming out on it. You know, the thing is, I keep wondering, you can't force somebody onto a spiritual journey, right? You can't, there's nothing, if you try to force someone onto a spiritual journey, you're creating a fear-based mindset, right? Like that's all it is. You force someone onto a spiritual journey, it's no longer spiritual. It's something much worse. So I feel like that's all I keep on seeing in relation to whatever is happening there, right? And if another person isn't aware of that, right, then they're energetically too far gone to navigate, right? Because there's nothing spiritual about being forced into anything. Absolutely. One card for you, Julia. This Lover's card flew out. So again, we don't. It says to me like making sure that you and another individual have alignment in relationality to a message or what one is trying to convey, particularly with the wolf energy. You know, I feel like there's something about navigating or identifying mutual energetic wariness towards things, but also feeling fortified in terms of being able to identify and recognize the strength of intention that allows like it feels to me like you and another person feeling the unification in terms of what it is that you're working against or understanding the environment that you're hoping to change via be some kind of conversation. I understand, Sophie. So if you're comfortable with that, I'll be happy to put you on the hold list. But I will still draw a card for you today if you could let me know what your question is. And thank you so much for your patience and understanding. One card on love for Per. Um, this is a lot of the work that I feel like we're healing. There's a lot of work that you're doing to heal love right now, particularly identifying and coming through in the dream space. And it's interesting too because it has a little bit to do with oh man, I see it there. Wow, I just got a huge download for you. Oh man. Okay. It's a lot to go into. Yeah, it's a lot to, okay, it's a lot to get in. Okay, sorry. I just got a huge, yeah, it's a lot to get into with a one card, but you, right, you deserve, like, your ability to recognize that love, like, you are deserving and worthy of love, even if you're not in energetic need of it, right? Absolutely. And sending you so much support on that journey. We'll delve into it more next time we meet. Avatar, one card, please. This is talking about working through things in a space of being able to navigate and recognize one's own sense of identifying in terms of working through energetic frustration or being able to articulate or identify upon your own, like, another person's unresolved feelings that they may effectively come towards you in like a in a way that like takes like when another person's not being when another person's being unreasonable, right? It's almost saying like the opposite of love is not hate, it's energetic indifference. So recognizing that someone may have a lot of feelings, but it still doesn't make it okay, is what I'm seeing from one of your guides. Mm-hmm. And thank you so much. Nikki. No, I got you, dear. Absolutely. Yeah, so the card that you got pulled was being able to, I understand you had the High Priestess in its reversal with the Two of Swords bottom of the deck and the Blackbird, which says that your authenticity gives others permission to be authentic too, right? Your truth only cleanses, it doesn't hurt anything. It gives others permission to be authentic in their own way. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Daniela, I got you, dear. Highest priority for Daniela. You got two cards coming out right now, Daniela. So this is identifying and working through, being energetically patient in terms of understanding that the energy that's for you will energetically prioritize you, right? It's not identifying or expressing upon situations by which we navigate or we're trying to work something out. It's saying to me that the energy that's for you is going to come towards you fully formed. Bottom of the deck, yeah, this Nine of Pentacles in its reversal, right? Energy that cares about you is going to protect your peace like it's their own, right? They're not going to be damaging your peace as they come towards you. They're going to be working and doing everything they can to facilitate and protect that peace as they move closer to you. Excellent. You're so welcome, Julia. All right, final call right now for anyone who has not had a one card. It's okay. Sophie, do you want to let me know what your one card is, dear? I'll be happy to draw a card for you. Excellent. Thank you for the follow, Sass. I already posted. Oh, you did? You posted that. Oh, that's wild. Excellent. You're so welcome, Daniela, and sending you so much support on that journey. Yep, absolutely. All right, my friends. One card for Sophie, please. One card. Oh, I love it, from the higher self. Your higher self recognizes the situations and circumstances. I this is in the past, right? Like, I literally see a situation by which the higher self is articulating upon an experience you're navigating will be in the past, right? Particularly with this Nine of Pentacles in its reversal, right? You've got this, right? You've got this. If it feels like it's too big, break it into smaller pieces, right? Everything is navigable, right? So long as you keep, right? So long as you keep a sense of proportionality in terms of what needs to be done, right? When it needs to be done. So just focus on the small things to get the big thing done. Thank you so much, dear. I'll read the list right now for those who are on the list for tomorrow. We've got Per, Sophie, and Julia currently. If anybody else wants to get on the list, you'll have priority, which means you'll be the first person read for before we start the daily collective. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. We'll be back on tomorrow at 8 a.m. PST, um, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you'd like to get on the list, as I said, you'll be the fourth person read for. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I got you, Ella. I'm adding you right now. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here today and receiving these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful. If you became a super fan or a paid member today, welcome. I would encourage you to message me directly with a disco gift, and I'll send you an invite to our subscriber only disco channel. You can introduce yourself to the collective, and you'll find there a special coupon code to our tarot class subscription program. One card for Ivana right now. This is identifying and working through the observation of energy that is in alignment to you, is not going to take it personally as you're getting things done. It's the sound that you'll hear by the energy that's invested in is, how can I help you get there? Animal Oracle, the crane energy, right? If another person if another person feels like they keep on identifying the fact that they want to encourage, but then they keep on adding difficulties, right? Observe, don't absorb, in relationality to recognizing, right? The force that wants to help you is going to say, how can I help you? Not just identifying upon, not the space by which they're potentially trying to put more on you. Thank you so much, dear. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here and receiving these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of one another, and we will do this again tomorrow. Have